So why is physical touch so important for human health? Now, I wanted to make this video because of an email I got from Dr. Rhonda Patrick with Found My Fitness talking about oxytocin and health, the bonding hormone oxytocin, and how that relates to and improves our health over time and longevity. And there's all these different things that she talks about. She goes really, really in depth. But another reason why this was perfect timing was I made a video that I posted, my last video that I posted, talking about why does everybody think they're so important and talking about their lives like there's this great person. And someone commented about how people are lonely and people really, we all should be valued. There were several comments like we all should be valued, but people are lonely and they're seeking attention. And I'm sitting here going, looking at this study, talking about oxytocin, which we get from more physical touch, the bonding chemical happens when we touch each other, that ain't gonna happen online. It's not, we're searching for these things and longing for these things that aren't gonna happen online. And what I see with our online habits is true. We are, not only are we just following the trends, and that's kind of what I talked about, like we're following trends of narcissistic people that are just, doing things for money, and now everybody's following this trend, and then we're all trying to make money off of ourselves. And part of that is we want this attention. We're not getting the attention that we have in an everyday life. So our lives have become complicated. We find avenues through internet, social media, this online, avatar, and we create this personality and things like that. But we're not feeding that need. Humans have this need for physical touch, and that's only going to happen in the actual real world. It's not going to happen by me turning on a camera and just putting myself out there and then getting attention from people online. That's going to fulfill some part of that, and it will make people feel better when you do get likes and when you do get clicks and when you do get positive engagement. But it's still going to be lacking in what Dr. Rhonda Patrick was talking about, this oxytocin hormone chemical that happens when we feel connected to someone, and usually with physical touch that happens automatically. And so I look at our lives and what we've done, especially since the pandemic, we've kind of outlawed a lot of physical touch. You see now kids aren't dating as much. They're not having sex as much. And we wonder why we are so lonely. Now, I think about lives, and like I said, we complicate things and we've kind of made things online. And this is part of what we do as technology advances. We have to get jobs and we have to fulfill needs, and these things are online. So that's how it goes. People can work from home, whereas they couldn't do that by mining coal, all right? You couldn't do that from a computer screen. So things change over time. But I look at how many people we are trying to connect to, how we get news from other countries, and how we are connected through these online avenues, but yet we are not connected to our neighbors. We are not in our communities. We're not as, again, physically there. We're spending a lot of time online. You might be online watching this right now. I spend a lot of my time online. I'm not as much in the community as I would like to be, but this is just part of life. Now we're learning along this. Just like when I talked about the online, way that we use social media nowadays, which I find detestable, I look at it and I go, we're learning. We're learning about how to use these things, and it's so new that we're gonna screw it up. And I see that. I see how it kind of started much more genuine with people posting stuff. Now it's kind of been manipulated because there are so many avenues to make money, and people will do anything to make money. And when they see these trends and they see people who are not really special making money from not being special, they don't want to do anything special. I think that's kind of part of, I talk and I ramble, but that's part of what I was saying is like, you don't want people to be striving for mediocrity or even depravity. That's what you're striving for. You want that because you see that making money. So instead of you trying to be great, not everyone's going to be great. Not everyone's going to be talented, but you want to strive for better and for more, not limbo underneath this low bar that we've set. And that's what I see is happening. So when you extrapolate that out into our society, we find more and more of our time is being spent on these things, and I'm guilty just like anybody else. And we spend more and more time on those, but yet we get further away from what really actually helps us in our lives. And we've seen that through the research studies that Dr. Rhonda Patrick talks about in her emails. And if you're not subscribed to her, do so already. I'll make sure to link to her channel and you can find her stuff. But if you think about human beings, there's something called failure to thrive, which means when you're a baby, they've done studies on this, right, with rabbits, and this is a human thing. They've seen this actually take place in, I think there was a famous study with, I forget the nurse's name, but there was this nurse that was getting these crazy health outcomes from an underfunded orphanage, and she was keeping these kids alive. Well, failure to thrive is you can give a kid all the shelter, the food, the water, all the nutrients it needs, but if you do not love that kid, meaning physically touch, it will not survive. You need physical touch. We are mammals. We have to have that. Dr. Rhonda Patrick's study shows how it improves so many things in your life. It improves longevity, improves, there's so many other things that it affects, just physical touch. And like I said, we're trying to force our way into this attention. We're lonely. We need that. And our hormones need it. Our health needs it. And we're trying to do this in an avenue that is not going to work. I know someone online who is super popular, makes tons of money, and is alone and is not very happy. He's good at what he does. He's, to me, an incredible person, online persona, does what he does better than anyone that I've seen. But he talks about it openly on some of his streams where he's like, yeah, and when he talks about it, you can hear it in his voice. He's lonely. And I think part of that is his own choices, what he's doing with his time, but also it's just part of society. It's so much easier for us to sit at home and contribute in an online community than it is in person. My mom just told me about at her hospital how they are having a company come in. This is a true story at a well-renowned hospital. They are having people come in and train their nurses and other staff members on communication because people are not able, the younger generations are not able to communicate properly to anyone. They are not paying attention to them. They're not saying hello. They are not doing things that you would think would be standard process as a nurse taking care of another human being. But this is just normal. And I look at it and it's not good. But I'm telling you that we have created this by our own desires. Like I said, my desire I just want to do what I want. My algorithm. I don't want to watch what you want to watch. I don't want to be a part of this community. So when I look at that and I go, my own desires are actually leading to my unhappiness. I would be better off if I was forced into a group that I don't even like, but I'm part of the group. You know what it was like when I remember what it was like. You might not, but that might be a different story. But I remember what it was like when I was in places and you just had to find a way to fit in. And you kind of found your own group. Everybody kind of just found their own group. And it just happened because you were stuck in a classroom all day. And you just found your people, right? And some people had lots of friends. Some people had few friends. But everyone kind of found their niche. And of course, you're going to have your occasional oddball. And that's just how it goes. But you were still part of the group. You were the oddball of the group. Right? And you still I remember some of those kids still having moments of connection with the group because there was some play back and forth. And as we now are basically creating the algorithm lifestyle is I put in what I want and it gives me back what I want. And I don't really get anything that is different. So when I take myself out of that and I go to an environment where there's a bunch of other people and they're all different, they don't have my same interests, and they say something or do something or say, hey, let's go here. And I'm like, I don't want to. I shut myself off from something that is super important for me as a human being. I need that connection, but I can easily just go back into my own solitary, it's almost like solitary confinement. What's the worst prison sentence that you can get? Solitary confinement, but we're doing this to ourselves. I know this wholeheartedly because when I was in my active addiction, alcohol and drugs, it's all I did. I was by myself. All I did was by myself. I isolated. And you cannot survive like that. I was killing myself and I wanted to kill myself. So not only was I physically killing myself with alcohol, drugs, loneliness as well, add that to the list, like we talked about, it literally helps you live longer when you have more physical touch. With my lifestyle, I was also becoming so depressed that I wanted to end my own life. So you look at our society, and you don't need alcohol and drugs to do that. That just speeds up the process, let me tell you, all right? If you want a fast track, go for it. But we're doing that ourselves without that. And I look at it and I go, maybe we're better off. I think we're designed for smaller groups. I know that for a fact. So big cities is challenging for us because there's so much stimulation. I feel like we're better designed for smaller groups that we're kind of forced into. You're just kind of stuck with it, right? And when things don't go your way, you have to learn to adapt and you have to learn to fit in and you have to learn to compromise what you want. And because our lives are not like that, we're going to have a harder and harder time. And so I'm learning that today. I'm putting myself in positions where I'm around people and I don't agree with them. And I am forcing myself to get outside my comfort zone because I know the alternative. And what's interesting is I really do think that being in those environments is very, very conducive to health overall. I think it's better for us to be in those challenging environments. Now, if it's too challenging, you're getting picked on, you're getting bullied. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm saying where you do have differences of opinion, but you find common ground here and there. And with that, we have this bonding that ends up happening. You know, sometimes it's struggle. You're all going through struggle and you bond like you're in the trenches in war. And that I think we're missing out on. I think so much of our life is spent online with our own self-fulfilling prophecy, our own kind of echo chamber. And I see it. So check out Rhonda Patrick's stuff on oxytocin and health overall for human beings. And just take a second to think about what are we doing in our lives that is promoting that. I think we have a great opportunity with social media to be able to find groups and people who are similar and like-minded. But how easy is it for us to jump ship? Because we know we can just go and search and find it. Or, hey, I don't have to be with this group. I can always leave. And I've seen that so many times where people are they're right in the middle of this pack and they just choose to go somewhere else. Whereas I feel like we probably were better off. Remember when, at least when I was, you had a school, you were in that district, you're screwed. You couldn't change that school. You were stuck at that school. And so much nowadays, I hear from parents, the kids are like, I don't want to go to that school. And the districts now let them go to whatever school that they want to. And I don't think that that's healthy for us. I think that we actually learn more and actually create better bonds when we're kind of forced into dealing with one another. I know it sounds weird, and I know it sounds like to take away my freedom, my choice. How much do you really have? And what do you really get out of it? And so I know I went all over the place with that one, but those are some of my thoughts when it comes to the physical touch and our lives being online. We need to get back into contact with people, especially since the pandemic. But just because of online, it's going that way anyways. Without the pandemic, it still would happen. But having this idea that everything is going to be just how I want it, I'm going to find my group and they're all going to agree with me, it's never going to happen. So when you're looking for that and you go, I found my group, and then something happens, you jump ship, that you're missing out. I know that because that's what I do. I don't want to deal with stuff. And I'm learning now that that's actually healthier for me to deal with it and stick through it. Even if you disagree with someone, you'll find people that you do agree with, and you might even find common ground with that other person that you don't agree with so much because they're part of your team. They're part of your environment, your community. And I think we're missing out on a lot of that, and I think our health is suffering for that. I know mine did tremendously in the past. So that's it for today. Until next time, I'll see you then.